April 3, 2026. 5 weeks into a war that was supposed to last 2 to 3 weeks. 13,000 combat flights over Iran. And then, just hours after President Trump stood in front of cameras and said, quote, "They have no anti-aircraft equipment. Their radar is 100% annihilated. We are unstoppable." Iran shot down an American F-15E Strike Eagle. 1 pilot rescued. 1 weapons systems officer still missing. And right now, somewhere in the mountains of the Kogiluye and Boyar Ahmad province in southwestern Iran, a race is on between American Special Forces and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps to find that second person first. The news channels will give you a headline. We're going to give you the full picture. Because this story is not just about one plane. It's about the math of war. And that math is already affecting your wallet. Stay with me. Let's start with the technical reality. Because here is what your television is not explaining to you. The F-15E Strike Eagle is not just a fighter jet. It's a 2-seat aircraft, a pilot and a weapons systems officer, designed for long-range strike missions deep into enemy territory. That weapons systems officer carries critical mission data, target packages, radar suppression frequencies, routes, the very information that makes the air campaign work. This is precisely why General Cantwell said, and I quote, "I am confident that Iran would like nothing more than to capture one of our aviators." Now here is the number that nobody is putting in their headline. Over 13,000 combat flights have been conducted in 5 weeks of Operation Epic Fury. 13,000. And this is the first confirmed loss of a manned American aircraft to enemy fire over Iran. That sounds like a good ratio. But here is what experienced military analysts understand, and what the Pentagon's press office will never say out loud. This was not bad luck. This was mathematical inevitability. When you fly this many missions into contested airspace, when you compress timelines, when you push sortie rates to maximum, the probability of loss does not go down. It accumulates, every single day. And here is the detail that should stop you cold. The IRGC claimed this aircraft was destroyed by what they called a new advanced air defense system. Let me repeat that. A new advanced system. From a country whose radar was, according to the President of the United States, 100% annihilated. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth had just days before told the press that an increase in air superiority had permitted large and relatively vulnerable B-52 bombers to fly their first overland missions into Iran. The day after those words, an F-15 was shot down. This is not the first time in history a superpower has walked into this trap. Vietnam, 1972. Operation Linebacker II. The United States was convinced of its absolute air dominance. North Vietnam adapted, deployed Soviet surface-to-air missile systems, and in 11 days shot down 15 B-52 strategic bombers. Washington was shocked, not because they lacked power, but because they stopped respecting the enemy's ability to adapt. History does not repeat itself exactly, but it rhymes with devastating precision. Now let's talk about money. Because behind every downed aircraft is a supply chain, a set of contracts, and a bill that ultimately lands on the taxpayer and ripples through the global economy. A single F-15E Strike Eagle costs between $87 and $100 million. That is the base price. Add weapons systems, pilot training, maintenance over its service life, and you are looking at figures approaching $200 million per airframe. Now look at what happened in a single day on April 3rd. An F-15 down. An A-10 Thunderbolt hit by Iranian fire over Iran, which then made it to Kuwaiti airspace before the pilot ejected, and the aircraft crashed and was destroyed. 2 search and rescue helicopters struck by enemy fire during the recovery mission. Both damaged, crew members wounded. 1 rescue mission turned into a multi-aircraft disaster. This is not a coincidence. Mark Gunzinger of the Mitchell Institute explained it directly, saying that Iran's targeting of U.S. support and rescue aircraft is, quote, clearly deliberate. Hitting the rescue operation turns 1 loss into 3, and it forces an impossible moral and strategic choice about how far to go to bring 1 person home. Now zoom out to the full 5 weeks of this campaign. According to data compiled by Anadolu Agency, The United States has suffered approximately $4.83 billion in military asset losses during the first month of Operation Epic Fury alone. That includes destroyed aircraft, radar systems, and critical infrastructure across multiple countries in the region. 16 MQ-9 Reaper drones lost over Iran. Each one costs approximately $32 million. 3 F-15Es destroyed in a friendly fire incident over Kuwait on March 1st. 8 KC-135 tanker aircraft damaged or destroyed. 2 E-3D Sentry AWACS planes hit. And now, the 4th F-15E of the war. This one taken down by Iranian fire directly over Iranian territory. The total aircraft damage estimated before today's losses alone was already over $3 billion. Boeing makes the F-15. Every airframe destroyed is a future order. Every MQ-9 lost is a new Reaper contract. The defense industry does not lose in a war. It invoices it. Now let's get to why this matters to you personally. Because this is the layer that no mainstream outlet is connecting for its audience. This conflict is happening inside the most critical oil corridor on the planet. The Strait of Hormuz. 20% of all global oil transit moves through that narrow choke point. Iran has already threatened to shut it down. A senior IRGC official publicly stated he would set fire to any ship coming through the strait and that no oil would leave the area. President Trump himself wrote on Truth Social that the United States could open the strait and, quote, make a fortune taking Iran's oil. Think about what that sentence means. The President of the United States is publicly discussing seizing oil infrastructure as a strategic objective. That is not a stabilizing statement for global energy markets. That is a signal. And here is how the chain reaction works. Every escalation in this conflict, every downed aircraft, every failed rescue mission, every Iranian missile that hits a U.S. base in the region raises the risk premium on Middle Eastern oil. Risk premium goes up. Oil futures go up. Oil goes up. Gasoline at your pump goes up. Diesel goes up. And diesel is the fuel that moves every truck that delivers every product to every store near your home. So when you pay more for groceries, for heating, for anything that was manufactured or transported, part of that price increase has a direct line back to what happened in the skies over southwestern Iran on April 3, 2026. And it goes even further. The Atlantic Council issued a stark warning this week. Operation Epic Fury is consuming military assets, bombers, carriers, surveillance aircraft, refuelers, at a rate that is measurably reducing overall U.S. military readiness. An estimated 63 to 71% of all available U.S. E-3 AWACS aircraft are currently deployed to this operation. That means America's global surveillance and battle management capacity is being drained in real time. A former U.S. military official warned that these aircraft are needed for other mission sets beyond this. Homeland defense, missions in the Pacific, and that globally, the military is already in a deficit. And now that deficit is deeper. The Atlantic Council put it plainly. This war is already straining U.S. readiness in ways that could limit America's ability to deter Chinese aggression in the Indo-Pacific. China is watching every single one of these losses, calculating what they reveal about American inventory, endurance, and political will. So let's bring it all together. CENTCOM stated on Thursday, just one day before this incident, and I quote, all U.S. fighter aircraft are accounted for. By Friday evening, that statement was no longer true. 2 aircraft were destroyed by enemy fire. 2 helicopters were struck during the rescue. And 1 American service member is still unaccounted for in the mountains of Iran, while Iranian state television is broadcasting a live reward offer to civilians who find him first. The administration told you this war would be over in 2 to 3 weeks. We are on week 5. The administration told you Iran's radar was 100% annihilated. Iran just shot down an F-15 and then shot at the helicopters that came to rescue the crew. The administration told you the United States had achieved total dominance of Iranian skies. And yet this was accomplished with what Iran calls a new advanced air defense system that American intelligence had not publicly acknowledged. None of this means the United States is losing. Iran's missile attacks are down 90% from day one. Over 7,800 targets have been struck. The toll on Iran is enormous. But degraded is not eliminated. And 5 weeks into a war that was supposed to end quickly, the bill, in human lives, in aircraft, in dollars, and in geopolitical credibility, is growing every single day. So here is the question I want you to think about and answer in the comments below. If Iran, after 5 weeks of the most intensive American air campaign since the Gulf War, can still deploy a new advanced air defense system capable of shooting down an F-15, and then shoot at the helicopters sent to rescue the crew, what does week 10 look like? What does month 3 look like? And what will a barrel of oil cost by then? Write your answer below. This is not a rhetorical question. The Pentagon does not have a public answer to it yet, and neither do the people making the decisions. If this video gave you something the news did not, hit like and share it. Not for the algorithm, because more people deserve to see the full picture, not just the headline.